Okay guys, I just want to touch briefly on a couple more fights that are happening this weekend. The first one being Danny Garcia going up against Zab Judah, and the second one being Peter Quillin going up against Fernando Guerrero. I think both of these, although I'm going to touch on these rather briefly, I think both of these fights are worth mentions because they are world title fights this weekend, and they should make for a couple of good contests. Danny Garcia against Zab Judah, the fight's in Brooklyn. I think that's a home fight for Zab Judah. Danny Garcia, 25 victories, unbeaten, no losses or draws, with around 64% KO ratio, while Zab Judah, 42 victories, 7 losses, no draws, around 54%, 50 odd percent, I'm not sure the exact number, 50 something mark he's at with the KOs. So the question mark here, and what's troubled me with this fight, like it does with all Zab Judah fights, is which Zab Judah is going to turn up. Because based on pure boxing, I think this is actually could be a rather close fight. And essentially, I think it does depend on which Zab Judah turns up and the mentality. Because I think what I'm going to explain is, I think both of these guys are rather similar, and they bring similar strengths to the ring. So I think it causes a bit of a stalemate in this fight, and I think it's going to go more down to the mental fortitude of each guy and where each guy is at. Obviously, Judah may have a boost because he's going to have the Brooklyn crowd behind him, so that may help him out a bit, and I'm hoping it does because I think he'll make for quite a good fight. Judah's getting on a bit, and he does keep getting these chances, and he has failed in the past, but you can't take away the guy's raw ability in a fight like this. The reason I think both of these guys are quite similar is because they're both pretty quick, they're both pretty good in exchanges, and they can both counterpunch. If you take a look at Zab Judah against Fernando in his last fight, a fight which I called correctly, I said that I won some money. I put it on Zab Judah to win by stoppage, because just looking at the tapes, I could see that Fernando was a bit of a lunger, and I felt that the style just matched up with Zab Judah, who can counter very quickly and he can hurt you, because he had, like Danny Garcia, he has some power as well, if you give him the opportunity. We saw his counter-punching ability there, and his ability to throw in exchanges and come out on top. In the same way that Danny Garcia did the same thing against Amir Khan in his last fight. Was it his last fight? No, it was the fight before, I think. The last fight was Eric Morales, wasn't it? Okay, so yeah, you see both of these guys can do that. They can both pick and time their opponents, and they can throw good counter shots. So I think that causes a bit of a stalemate here, because normally, in these videos, I say to you how I think a fighter should fight, how I know a fighter will probably go into the ring fighting. But with this one, I'm not going to do that because I simply don't know. And that's what's going to be interesting about this fight for me, is to see how each guy approaches this fight in the first few rounds, to see what their game plan is. Because does Garcia sit back and wait for Zab Judah to come onto him and then try and pick his opportunities in countering, wait for the exchange, or does Zab Judah do that to Danny Garcia? Does it cause a bit of a stalemate? Do we see too much caution in the early rounds in this fight? Do we see a lack of engagement? I think that Zab Judah could, if he tries to play this safe and he takes calculated risks, he could really try and out-volume Danny Garcia in this fight and take it down the stretch and really go for that decision. I think it's something he has the ability to do. It's just whatever guy takes the front foot in this fight, I feel, is going to have to be pretty careful and pretty cautious. Doesn't get caught with counters. Because I think both of these guys can get caught, and both of these guys can catch you, and they both have a bit of power, and they can both, I think in this fight particularly, they can both get hurt. So, long story short, I think that it depends like I said, what Zab Judah we see. If we see a good Zab Judah, like the Zab Judah that went in against Fernando last time out, I think this could be a close fight, and I really think Zab Judah has a good chance in this fight. If we see a poor Zab Judah, the Zab Judah that doesn't really turn up, he's not mentally with it, he's not focused, he's not in the zone, then I think we see a stoppage victory for Danny Garcia. I think he stops Judah. I come to the conclusion I think Danny Garcia wins this fight. I'm picking him to win this fight, with Zab Judah as a live underdog, if you like. The potential to make it a close fight. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to pick, whether I'm going to go for the decision for Danny Garcia or the KO. I'm going to leave it there with you. I'm going to leave it up in the air, but I think Danny Garcia takes this fight. Now the second fight is going to be Peter Quillin, Kid Chocolate. He's going up against Fernando Guerrero, and this fight is for the WBO middleweight title, which I believe the Kid Chocolate currently has. Now I'm picking Kid Chocolate to win this fight by stoppage. I think he gets the stoppage in this fight. I'm going to pick a round. Let's go for round 8. Here's the thing. Both of these guys have similar experience in the ring in terms of number of fights and rounds. Peter Quillin is undefeated, and Fernando Guerrero has only lost once. He was stopped by TKO in round 4, I believe, a few fights ago. Both of these guys are in the early 70% KO ratio, so they've both got a bit of power. Here's the thing, I think it's a bit skewed in Fernando Guerrero's power stats, because if you look at the opponents he's faced, he's really been facing lower tier opposition. You know, guys with not very good records at all, guys you'd expect him to really take out. Whereas Peter Quillin, as of late, has sort of picked up the level of opposition a little bit. So he's been in there with some better guys than Guerrero has, in my opinion. Another thing, if you look down the record of Guerrero, he's been put down a good few times in fights. Even fights he's won, he's been put down. He's been down on the canvas. So that tells you something here in this fight for me. I think that Quillin will be... For starters, I think Quillin's going to have too much volume and be too busy for Guerrero, because Guerrero's style is quite a patient, relaxed, laid-back style. It's kind of awkward, and in many ways... technically, you could say he's pretty good, but I think sometimes you look at guys and you think maybe it's just a bit of showmanship. You know, it's a bit of show. Some guys can execute these type of styles. Other guys just have it there for a bit more show than actual purpose. I think Quillin takes this fight. You know, Guerrero's going to have a chance because he got power, so I give him a puncher's chance in this fight. But ultimately, I think that Quillin will be able to put too much volume on him. His power will tell. And I think, like I said, 8th round, there or thereabouts, we should see a stoppage victory for Peter Quillin, Kid Chocolate. So that's my take on the fight. I'm picking Danny Garcia to win. I'm not sure how, but I'm picking him to beat Zab Judah. I actually have a bit of money on Zab Judah in this fight. I think the odds are too good not to put a bit of money on Judah. I think he's a bit of a live underdog in this one, and I'm picking Peter Quillin to win by stoppage. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think about these fights, and do enjoy them on the weekend. This is BoxPed, and I am out.